Can JavaScript return values enable partial application? Imagine being able to create a new function from an existing one with some parts already filled in. Sounds handy, right? Well, JavaScript makes this possible through return values and functions. When a JavaScript function finishes running, it can send back a value. That value can be anything, like a number, a string, or even another function. This ability to return functions is what makes partial application doable. Think of partial application as fixing some ingredients of a recipe in advance so you can make a smaller, ready-to-use version later. Let's look at a simple example. Suppose you have a function that adds 5 numbers together. You can use JavaScript's built-in bind method to fix some of those numbers and create a new function. For example, you could fix the first 2 numbers to 6 and 4. When you do that, bind returns a new function that only needs the remaining 3 numbers to give you the total sum. This new function is a result of returning a function with some arguments preset, which is the core idea of partial application. Another way to do this is by writing a function that returns another function. For example, you can write a function called add that takes one number and returns a new function. This new function remembers the original number and adds it to whatever you give it later. So, calling add with 5 gives you a new function that adds 5 to any number you pass in. When you call that function with 3, it returns. This pattern shows how returning functions helps fix some arguments and wait for the rest. Partial application is great because it helps you make specialized functions from general ones. It makes your code cleaner and easier to understand. You can create small, reusable pieces that are tailored for specific tasks. This is especially useful in web development, where you often work with event handlers, asynchronous operations, or utility functions. Remember, when a function returns another function, it keeps the fixed arguments safe inside a closure. This is how it remembers what was set earlier. The bind method is a quick way to do this, but you can also write your own functions that return new functions with certain arguments fixed. It's important to know that partial application is different from currying. Partial application fixes some arguments and leaves the rest to be supplied later. Currying transforms a function, so it takes one argument at a time, returning a new function each time. Also, be aware that using the length property to check how many arguments a function expects can be tricky with functions that accept variable numbers of arguments or have default values. In short, JavaScript's ability to return functions as values makes partial application straightforward. By returning new functions with some arguments already set, you can build flexible, reusable code. This skill is a key part of mastering JavaScript functions and helps you write cleaner, more efficient web applications.